Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Recall that when R. Kelly was sentenced to prison, it happened on the anniversary of the Jesuit order being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. And he was sentenced at age 54, which is not arbitrary to the Jesuits. Their headquarters is at the Church of the Jesu Building 54. At their pinnacle in U.S. history, they had 54 universities in the nation. Their first university, Georgetown, that is in the U.S., was established by a 54-year-old John Carroll, et cetera, et cetera. Understanding this is why I predicted why not R. Kelly, but P. Diddy would go down at age 54 as he did, and he had the same Jesuit prosecutor from Georgetown that also took down R. Kelly. So with that said, look at the update here with R. Kelly, and we'll read a little bit about this, and I think it'll jump out to you right away. R. Kelly was recently taken to the hospital after allegedly being given too much medication by prison staff while in solitary confinement, according to a filing from the disgraced R&B singer's legal team. The 58-year-old born Robert Kelly is currently serving 2 federal sentences, one for sex trafficking and racketeering, and another for child pornography at Butner Correctional Facility in North Carolina. His current release date is listed as December 21st, 2045, according to the Bureau of Prisons website. In court documents obtained by CNN, Kelly's legal team is again seeking an emergency release from prison, claiming that the Federal Bureau of Prison is taking active steps to kill him, an accusation the government calls fanciful. The filing from Kelly's team alleges that he was placed in solitary confinement on June 10th, hours after submitting a different emergency release request filing that separately alleged Bureau of Prisons officials had plotted to have another inmate kill Kelly. It goes on to state that Kelly took his regular dose of medication on June 12th, but they claim was later instructed by prison staff to take additional medication. The filing then claims that Kelly awoke on July 13th. That's got to be a misprint, right? Because it's June. We're not to July yet. So it would make sense that it was the next day. The filing then claims that Kelly awoke on June 13th feeling faint and dizzy, seeing black spots in his vision before falling to the ground and losing consciousness. Kelly was taken by ambulance to Duke University Hospital, where the filing says he learned that he had been administered an overdose quantity of his medications that threatened his life. Kelly was hospitalized for 2 days. The filing then claims that prison officials forced the singer to leave the hospital and return to prison against his will and against the directives of the doctors before completing additional medical treatment for ongoing blood clot issues. So June 13th, that's the day leaving 201 days left in the year. And again, if you're new here, that's another very special number to the Jesuit history. They were created to counter the 95 Theses. 201 months after the 95 Theses was penned, their order was preserved by Catherine the Great in the time of their suppression with 201 Jesuit priests. We just lived in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, who was the first to live in Suite 201, and now he's died 201 days from St. Francis of Assisi's death anniversary, and that's who he was named after. But yeah, long history of 201 with the Jesuits. June 13th leaves 201 days left in the year. This year on June 13th, we saw the 201st Detachment created by the U.S. Army. We saw the state of Israel, what we call 201 land, escalate a war. But again, what are the odds? Talking about how this whole thing with R. Kelly is a big Jesuit ritual, and now this. And let's also not overlook about him being put in solitary confinement on June 10th. The majority of the world writes that date 10/6, like 106. Remember, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, in gematria, black equals 106. And the phrase Black Lives Matter equates to 106 when you apply numerology. A lot of rituals with black history in 106. But yeah, what a day for him to be put in solitary confinement leading up to the near death from being over-medicated on June 13th. Yeah, this is June 17th news, so the printing of July 13th has to be an error. So yeah, that's the update. Just wanted to make sure people were aware. Again, got to look into this news by the numbers thing. Again, for people who don't know, the Jesuits gave us the calendar and are responsible for the 26-letter alphabet. And all of that was implemented in the 16th century when this system went into motion. The century of the Jesuits, the 16th. Just like DC's the Jesuit stronghold, and Church Street is on 16th Street. By the way, it being 46 minutes after the hour, you might have also seen that Lilo and Stitch, they just released a movie about that cartoon series, and now one of the voice actors from the show just happens to be dead. Lilo and Stitch equals 46, like sacrifice, and he died this past Sunday, a date with 46 numerology. I'll do a video on that later. Shout out to Kayla Decode Tucker, who tipped me off to that one. Until next time, everybody, take care. Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Another tragedy in the world of entertainment by a very familiar pattern. This time it is voice actor from the cartoon series David H.K. Bell. He voiced the big Hawaiian dude in Lilo and Stitch. And of course, just recently, that series released a new movie on May 23rd, 2025, not even a month ago. In the article about his death, pretty much all the articles which are syndicated, they point out that the movie grossed nearly $1 billion. They have to throw in that detail. And the strange thing is, this kind of stuff happens all the time in the world of entertainment. A release of a work comes out and there's a death. There's been so many examples. John Wick's a big series. The actor from the HBO Wire hit series who was also in John Wick, who works at the hotel in the movie series, he's announced dead right before the John Wick 4 comes out. That was an example that I'm sure a lot of people remember. There's been several since and many before that. The point is, these movies, these shows, they're coming out and then a death is connected to them over and over. When Netflix put out the remake of Wednesday, or I guess that was a take on the Addams Family, the real actress, or I shouldn't say the real, but the original actress who played Wednesday, she just dropped dead right at that time. Again, we've covered all these things over the years, but something that is very consistent in all these suspicious deaths are the numbers. And one of those numbers that comes up all the time in these ritualistic deaths is 46. And it seems to be biblical. In the Torah, Genesis 46, it speaks about sacrifice. And there's a practice associated with the Torah that comes from Kabbalah known as gematria, and that's the practice of coding numbers into words. And in this code of letters into numbers, sacrifice equates to 46. In this case, so does Lilo and Stitch. And if you put an ampersand in there, it's a null value. If you type in an ampersand on Derek's calculator, it just deletes it. And Derek, if you're out there, that was a dumb change that you made to the calculator, because people will look at this and be like, oh, you're manipulating. You left out the and part. I didn't leave it out. And again, Derek runs the gematria calculator, and I don't know why he did that update where it just deletes the and from the title. But again, and's a null value, so Lilo and Stitch does equal 46. If you spelled out and as a word, it would be a different number. But again, they do use the ampersand, which is a null value. So anyway, the title of the film is 46. Sacrifice is 46. The voice actor is dead at 46 right after the release of the film. Another familiar pattern is 20 with death, because death equals 20. He died June 12th. That was 20 days after the new film released. And the day he died, June 12, 2025, was a date with 63 numerology. He's commonly referred to as David H.K. Bell, which equates to 63. And if you're wondering how these numerical values are calculated, very simply, it is the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26 with numerology applied to each letter. So you see that L is worth 3. That's because L is the 12th letter of the alphabet. The numerology of 12 is 1 plus 2 is 3. I is the 9th letter. L is the 12th, becoming 3. O is the 15th. 1 plus 5 is 6. S, the 19th letter. 19 breaks down to 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 breaks down to 1 plus 0 is 1. Thus, S is 1. T, the 20th letter, is 2 plus 0 is 2. So on. And David H.K. Bell equates to 63 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. Z is 1 back to A is 26 with numerology applied. But this is par for the course. This is what we see over and over in the world of entertainment. You can look up the song Murder by Numbers by The Police. Netflix just added the film Copycat to its library. And in the film Copycat, which is about a serial killer, they even play the song Murder by Numbers at about the hour and 9 minute mark. And while they play that song in the movie, if you're paying attention, they zoom in on the door in the police office, and the number sequence in reverse is 3 and 4, like the word murder equals 34. Again, the song is Murder by Numbers by the Police. But they're even paying tribute to the numbers in the scene of the film as Sting sings Murder by Numbers. Again, this stuff's all over the world of entertainment. It's encoded in your news. It is in the entertainment. It's in history. And it is the same patterns over and over again. So, R.I.P. to David H.K. Bell. And until next time, True Seeker. Welcome back, True Seeker. A lot of people asking me to cover the Trump Mobile launch, which we already did the day the news broke on the live stream. If you missed Monday's live stream, June 16, 2025, we talked about this for a lot of the stream. So make sure you're actually watching the work that's out there. But just let the gematria do the talking. Jesuit puppet Donald Trump, as we've been covering for a decade. His new cell phone brand, Trump Mobile, has a triple overlap with Jesuit order. You can see it right there, 144, 54, 153. And in that same cipher, cell phone is 153. Don't forget when his ex-wife fell down the stairs and died 144 days after her birthday, and then was buried in a major Jesuit ritual. And don't forget, she also died exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year, which ran more than a typical calendar year. The same day that Trump said he'd run in the 60th election. So yeah, Puppet Trump. Now with Trump Mobile, it's going to be $47.45 a month before taxes. Of course, he's number 47 and 45. June 16th, 25, the day he launched this, was a date with 47 numerology, 6 plus 16 plus 25, 47. It's like how Truth Social equals 47, like how Trump equals 47, like the million other 47 rituals to go with Trump. I remember on the campaign trail, he was selling pieces of a suit cut up into... There was something about if you bought 47 pieces of the cut up suit, you got some promotion. I forget what it was now. We covered that months ago. The new cell phone that you can get with the plan, it'll be called the T1. T is the 20th letter, right? T1. So it's 21. Kind of reminds you of Terminator. But 21 is 201. Another big number at the Jesuits, like how Trump's ex-wife was buried on the 201st day of the year. A reminder that his brother died on the Jesuit order's birthday. It's August 15th. That was a handful of years back now. Also noteworthy, Oracle, the computer company, launched on June 16th in history, and it was founded by Larry Ellison. And remember, Larry Ellison is the one who spoke at length when the Stargate project was announced, the big AI project funded in a major way by the Trump administration. And it's interesting to me because Larry Ellison last September at Oracle's annual big event, he spoke at length about how AI, it's now capable of fulfilling what he sees as a utopian surveillance state where everyone's under the watchful eye of cameras, bringing out the best behavior in humanity. I wonder if there's a backdoor link with Oracle here in Trump's new cell phone brand, and I almost wonder if it's going to be an experimental stage in their surveillance state. Trump's flock will be the ones to get experimented on. Also, in light of the cell phone being gold, remember, Trump just turned 79 years old. The 79th element on the periodic table is gold. And it's interesting because the 47th element is silver, and traditionally that's, the banking, that's the real money. The real money is what I mean to say. Silver and gold. Silver and gold. And don't forget that banks equals 47 in gematria. Again, from the Federal Reserve being established to the banks opening, the 12 Federal Reserve banks, that was exactly 47 weeks. So we got number 47 in office now with a gold phone. But yeah, again, it just couldn't be much more Jesuit, could it? So
Makes you wonder if it might have the same side effects as those Mossad gold pagers. Let's hope not. We'll leave it there for now, and until next time.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. A lot of people are interested in the Karen Read acquittal. I touched on this very briefly at the end of today's live stream, but just looking a little bit at this, I'll show you a few things that are interesting. So this was the second trial, her being accused of killing her ex-boyfriend, a Boston cop, John O'Keefe. Notice this second trial began on April Fool's Day, and that was April 1st, which means today, June 18th, the day she is acquitted, would be 78 days later, or the 79th day of the trial. And the 79th day of the trial stands out because murder in gematria equates to 79, and that's what she was on the stake for. Did she murder her ex-boyfriend, John O'Keefe? Second-degree murder, to be more specific, was the charge. The date that he was killed was January 29th, 2022. And notice that from that date to her acquittal, it's 176 weeks and 4 days later. The 176 weeks is crucial because in gematria, John O'Keefe equates to 176. If you're new here, these four values for his name, 94, 49, 176, 41. 41's a bit like April 1st, the day the second trial began. The way you get these values is the alphabetic order. That's where his name equates to 94. A is 1 up to Z is 26. His name equates to 176 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. Z is 1 back to A is 26. Again, you pay attention. The stuff that's in the news, it's pretty much every single time news by the numbers. And again, this woman's a former athlete. People followed her in Australia for playing cricket. Most of this stuff is just made for TV, just another distraction. And for anyone out there going, distract me from what? Distract you from the tyranny that you've come to accept as normal. And that tyranny is government, where it lies to you every day. It manipulates you. It takes your hard-earned money through taxation. That's what you're being distracted from. The way your life is being manipulated, and your time's being stolen, and your wealth is being stolen. And if you doubt that, it's because you're under mind control, which has happened to you through watching things like the news. Anyway, these are the base ciphers, the alphabetic order, the reverse alphabetic order, and then both orders with numerology applied. So John O'Keefe is 41 in reverse with numerology applied. So you just got to say, what are the odds that all of this would come to an end 176 weeks later? Now, the number that I talk about all the time with the code is 74. And today is 74 days before Karen Read's birthday. There's a lot to say about 74 if you're new here, but Masonry is big with the police system and the media system and the government systems in the West and the East while we're at it worldwide. Masonic is 74. Occult is 74. There's 1,074s, but I'm just giving you some short and simple ones. English is 74. Notice this is all just the most simple cipher, the alphabetic order. The practice of coding numbers into words, gematria, which means geometry in language, like the Masons have that symbol with a big G in instruments of geometry. Gematria is 74. When you think English, you must think of London, right? London is 74. There's that hit song by Slipknot, Gematria, the Killing name. Killing is 74, so it was holiday, so it was Independence Day. Anyhow, she's off the hook for killing her ex-boyfriend. So we're told 74 days before her upcoming birthday. And that's something I covered earlier in the stream. But look at what day deliberations began too. June 13th. the day leaving 201 days left in the year. And again, if you're new here, that pretty much tells you the whole story. It's not an accident that the 201 Nation attacked Iran on that day, and the Army created the 201st Detachment, or the Tyler Perry lawsuit was filed, or that R. Kelly said he was poisoned and is now asking for Donald Trump, the man who called it the golden era, for help when R. Kelly's known for giving the golden showers. Not to mention Donald Trump just turned 79 this weekend, and the 79th element on the periodic table is gold. But yeah, all of this stuff's a joke. June 13th, again, leaves 201 days left in the year. It's the number of the Illuminati, and it's the number of the Jesuits. And again, the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who said he had plans to infiltrate Freemasonry. By the way, the date of the death, 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. So yeah, there's just all kinds of little hallmarks here of the shenanigans. And Karen Read, her date of birth is August 31st. So if you measure from the acquittal, June 18th, 12 days to the end of the month, that'd be June 30th, 31 days in July. 31 plus 12 is 43, plus 31 more to August 31st, that's 74. So all of these numbers are just high ritual numbers. And the one I didn't type out on the calculator is, the 79th day of the second trial. She's acquitted of murder when murder is 79. And by the way, for anyone who has Netflix, at least in the United States, right now they've added the song Copycat about a serial killer. They play the song Murder by Numbers by The Police in that film. Of course, that song came out in 83, and the movie poster for Murder by Numbers has the 83 and 38 encoded on the cover. But if you look at what they do in the film, they zoom in on the police door while they're playing the song, and it's the numbers 3, 4 on the screen, like murder. So, can you learn these 4-base ciphers like I learned them from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, a book published in 1926, and you just pay attention. This stuff's going on day after day. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker, and until next time.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Again, Karen Read, a big trial in the minds of the masses, was acquitted yesterday, June 18th, 2025. And a lot of people would have saw through this psychological operation a long time ago if they were aware of the code that the occult operates by. And again, just speaking of the occult, this is how her and the legal team posed after being acquitted. The old Hail Satan. That didn't stand out at all. But yeah, again, if you watch my streams, when I'm on the screen, there's always a license plate behind me that says, "What is 47?" And look at this totally bogus, obvious bullshit detail in the story. Along the path of the trial and the evidence that was laid out was the crash site where her ex, the Boston cop John O'Keefe, was killed. And they said from the crash site, the tail light broke into 47 pieces. I mean, it's just laughable, right? Like, it's impossible. It's impossible to break into 47 pieces. But that's just the thing right there, 47. If people knew what they were looking at, they'd see through it every day. This number is stuck in so many news stories arbitrarily. And sometimes impossibly, like this one. How can a tail light break into 47 pieces? It's amazing people don't catch on to this, especially living in a nation that celebrates its birthday on the 4th of July, the 4th day of the 7th month. For people who haven't looked into it, it's arbitrary that we celebrate the birthday on that day. It's literally arbitrary. There's a lot better days that could have been picked as Independence Day, probably most notably July 2nd. But there's a reason it's the 4th of July. Look into the history of this nation. How many founders were part of that secret society that's very important to police? That secret society is Freemasonry, that studies the 47th problem of Euclid. You learned about it in geometry class. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's important to ancient builders. It was a formula used to create perfectly square foundations. with just some anchor points and some rope and a little math. But yeah, 47, very special to the Masons. And again, the Masonic logo is instruments of geometry around a big G. Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, makes this even more interesting because, of course, the man who was supposedly killed where the 47 tail light pieces were was John. John has that gematria 47. And, of course, you think John, you think Christianity. If you're new here, the word Christian is 47. So is the word authority. So is the word government. Think about how all these things come together. Religious authority. Once upon a time, that was the government of Europe, and that's why people fled across the Atlantic to come over here. And they set up a new government, freedom of religion. Should have been freedom from religion. Would have been even better. But anyway, again, so many words connected to authority equal 47. News, government, authority, president, White House, Republican, Democrat, judge, gavel, obey. Did I say news already? I meant to if I didn't. News. For a lot of people, that's their ultimate authority. It's the only thing they believe in, no matter how much they mock them every day with the obvious bullshit and the number-encoded crap, like 47 tail light pieces. Even the Trump's name equals 47. Yes, Trump equals 47, and we've been telling you about this for a long time. That's why we said 4 years before they reinstalled the Chump, it would happen. And keep in mind, this does happen in the time of number 47. But yeah, just a few other details that are important. Again, it was the 79th day of the second trial where she was acquitted of murder, and murder equals 79. The second trial began on April 1st, April Fool's Day. And that's what this is, a nation of fools who don't pick up on patterns, who don't see this repetitive encoding of 47 and the crap that's fed to us every single day. Can somebody look up the clip of me debating Andrew Wilson where that moron tried to downplay the significance of 47? He went on Google and started typing. He's like, I just found that the news actually reports the number 10 the most because they do a lot of top 10s. It's like, what kind of rebuttal is that to what I'm saying about the way they encode 47 in their propaganda, you freaking moron? Anyway, from the supposed death of John O'Keefe on January 29, 2022 to the acquittal was 176 weeks and 4 days. If you're new here, gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers and words, there's 4 base ciphers of the English language. And I learned about this from the 1926 book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. The 4 base ciphers are all based on the alphabetic order. That's why there is an order to the alphabet, because every letter is a number, just like it was in Hebrew and ancient Greek, the biblical languages. But it's the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. That's where John was 47. It's the reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1 back to A is 26. That's where John O'Keefe is 176. And then it's both orders with numerology applied. When you run John O'Keefe in reverse with numerology, it's 41, like the trial began on April 1st, 4-1. And when you run the alphabetic order forwards with numerology, Karen Reed is 41. A little bit too perfect. Also, another obvious detail in the PSYOP is that they began deliberations on June 13th, which is the day leaving 201 days left in the year. It's always a whopper of a date all throughout history if you look into it. This year we got the 201 state attacking Iran, that's Israel. We got the legal case of Dixon saying that, what's his face, Tyler Perry sexually harassed him. We got the story that R. Kelly, who was sentenced to prison on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by Rome, that the prison guards tried to poison him. God, what else am I forgetting? We got the deliberation of this. What else happened? Oh, yeah, we got the Army creating the 201st detachment on the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Again, from the beginning of this nation, it's been Masons and Jesuits. The Jesuit order equals 201. Society of Jesus, their formal title, equals 79. So acquitted of murder after deliberations begin on the day leaving 201 days left in the year. June 13th would have been exactly a span of 176 weeks from the supposed death of John O'Keefe on 129, when the number 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. Yeah, it would have been 175 weeks and 6 days later, or an exact span of 176 weeks that deliberations began. Just think about that. Oh, yeah, and about just authority and 47, don't forget Vatican equals 47. Of course, we're on their calendar. We're speaking their language. Again, the Jesuits synced up the calendar and the language at the end of the 16th century. Did I mention that the words policeman and cop equal 47? Did I forget to write that down? Policeman and cop equal 47. I wrote it down up here. I might have forgot to say it. Again, just so many things connected to authority equate to 47. So where a policeman/cop was killed, the tail light broke into 47 pieces, and his name was John. I mean, give me a break. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Thanks to everyone who hits the like and the share. And if you think they were just doing rock on here, you got to pull your head out of your rear end. It's so tiring watching the mockery take place every single day in the news and the average American not catching on. This 47 number, you just pay attention. It is literally everywhere in media, whether it's entertainment, news, sports history, and the first Super Bowl in the 47th season of the NFL when the league's credited to the Freemason Walter Camp. The first pro basketball championship in 47 when the sport's credited to the Freemason Naismith. MLB changed its logo in 47 when the sport's credited to the Freemason Abner Doubleday, etc., etc. And don't forget, in the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday, you had 47 points when Vatican's 47, and that date's February 11th, like 211's the 47th prime. And the Chiefs won that Super Bowl, and Andy Reid and Mahomes, and the Super Bowls they'd all played in up through that game, the total scores had added to 211 points because the games are that scripted. That's why the announcers are saying they couldn't have scripted it any better. And that's what people need to wake up to. They're scripting your sports leagues. They're scripting your news. They're scripting your rigged selections that so many people are so passionate about. Just like they're so passionate about their rigged sports games. Again, theater is being controlled to manipulate the minds of the masses. And it's done every day by this Kabbalistic code. You know, case in point, the NBA Finals are going on in the 79th season right now, and we told you at the beginning of the year why the Thunder would be in the championship because they were the old Sonics team that won the championship in 79. And they've been paying tribute to Timothy McVeigh, who was executed in Indiana and who bombed Oklahoma City. And not to mention Halliburton as well, the oil company found in Oklahoma when the Star now plays on Indiana. Go back to the June 11th game, the anniversary of McVeigh being executed in Indiana. Execution equals 116. The Pacers won that day with 116 points. Again, the script that people need to learn to see. The mockery that's so transparent. Until next time.